Welcome back to Where Whites Walk. We're starting this week's episode off with a tribute, of course, to the late Sol Bamba. 39 years of age is no age at all to lose such a dignified gentleman of the game, not only a great defender, but a great person as well. Jake, you were supporting Leeds, I think, at the time when Sol was there. What were your memories of his short time with Leeds?
Yeah, well, when he was there, it wasn't the best time, the best years for the club. We were just kind of languishing in mid-table and in the Championship, really. But I think he was probably a kind of one of the only sort of bright spots of that era. Really, he was a big character, a big personality, and for the level that we were, he was a good player for the sort of year and a half that he was there. So yeah, I think as everybody Leeds fans, look back on his life and his time at Leeds very, very fondly, and yeah, it's a sad loss because I'd have been about 11 or 12 when he was here, and there weren't really too many kind of players that you could sort of look up to a little bit or kind of value or that sort of thing. He was for that era, he was a player that sort of really got the club a little bit, and he was a real sort of a good sort of leader on the pitch and someone that the fans sort of bought into a bit. So yeah, it was a really sad loss when I read about the news, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And everyone on this channel across the whole Toast sends all their good wishes and thoughts to Sol Bamba's friends and family. So, thank you for joining us on this episode of Where Whites Walk. We, of course, are reviewing the transfer window for Leeds now. Now it's slammed firmly shut, and also talking about the next set of fixtures. Leeds doing quite well, but are all fans happy? That's what Jake is going to review for us on Where Whites Walk. Welcome. It's always good to hear that. So yes, on this week's channel, we are looking at the transfer window and giving it a grade out of 10. We want you to do that in the comments. We'll ask Jake for his opinion on that in a second. We're also looking ahead at the September set of fixtures for Leeds United and where that will lead them. And we're talking about the worst away day experiences as a Leeds fan. What are yours? Jake will share his, and we will get a review of those stories next week. First of all, though, it's time to talk about the whole game. You enjoyed that, I would imagine, Jake, quite a bit.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, it was just a good win, really. It was nice weather. The sun was shining, which I think always adds to the atmosphere a bit when it's when you're playing well and it's nice weather and stuff. It just kind of makes it a bit more of a feel good kind of atmosphere. Yeah, I thought we did well. It wasn't a spectacular win. It wasn't an absolute sort of hammering. I wouldn't say there were periods in the first half where Hull were on top a little bit and they did start to dominate, and we sort of allow them to kind of regain a bit of sort of control of the game. But I'd say for probably 75 minutes of that game, we were good and we were on top. So yeah, nice solid win. That's 8 points and 12 now, which I think most fans would have been happy with from the first game of the season. So it's fourth in the league, a pretty good return. I mean, obviously there is the constant debate whether does a break come at the right time? Is it bad time for certain teams? Is it a good time for other teams? Obviously, there's that aspect as well. Would we have liked to just carried on playing and just kept that momentum going a bit from 2 wins against Wednesday and Hull? But yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a good day. So yeah, I can't complain really.
We'll have a look at some takes from social media in a second, but lots of them are saying this is like the old Leeds before April, when obviously everything went wrong. You went to Sheffield Wednesday, 2 Yorkshire derbies now, played them off the park, beat Hull quite comfortably, and Leeds have got their kind of mojo back. Is this as good as Leeds have been playing since Easter?
I'd say so. The only because I think in bar the West Brom game, we have been good in every game. Really, Portsmouth we should have we should have. Well, that was probably a better display than Saturday. In fairness, we should have hammered Portsmouth really. Like we had about I think we hit the bar 3 times in the first 5 minutes or something. It was something crazy like that. And we should have, we should have hammered them. Wednesday was a nice comfortable win. Hull was a nice comfortable win. So really, we probably should have 3 wins out of 4. Obviously, we have the 2, which, as I say, we can't really complain about. But yeah, I think most fans, as I say, would have taken the start that we've had. So yeah, I think it's all been pretty on the whole been pretty good so far. Really. But as I say, bar that West Brom game, which was a bit iffy, where it was a bit of a depressing game to watch. But yeah, so far it's been good.
All right, let's have a look at some of the takes then that fans had. Kirk Dunn said, good 20 minutes, then it was poor until around the 60th minute. Great ball by Solomon, finished by Joseph. Good for him to get a goal as well, I thought, because he's deserved a goal, hasn't he, in some games. It's good to see Pirro score. Decent performance, but played very well last 20 minutes and closes the game out brilliantly. 6.5 out of 10 performance. Lots to work on. Obviously, it looks like it's a picture of Pele. Depressor says, great win. The final minutes really showed our depth. That's what I like about us most right now. There's a few like that, Jake, saying, do you know what? The depth coming off the bench is what's going to help Leeds get promoted here. It's not always just going to be the starting 11. It's going to be the players that you turn to that don't start. So would you agree that looking as a strength now is the depth you have?
Yeah, definitely. I think probably. I mean, we would have liked that extra number 10, which I think Farkas said that he would have liked that player. But I'd still say starting 11 and depth wise, it is probably the best side in the league. I think that was probably our hope for the end of the window. Really, even though we lost players, if we still had probably the top 2 best sides, that would have been which obviously that's only on paper, but that should give you the best chance to get top 2. So that's what we hope for. And I think, depth-wise, the bench won't be, some of those players like Tanaka, maybe Ramazani might go into the starting 11, then obviously the bench is maybe a touch weaker than that with rotation and whatnot. But I think when you compare it to Burnley and Sheffield United, for example, 2 sides who we should be competing with, like I tweeted about Sheffield United's bench earlier, and the difference between their first 11, the bench, I thought was crazy. They've got an absolute top end Championship first team, and then I saw the bench, and it just looked like the drop in levels just looked crazy. And Burnley were looking really strong until they obviously lost some players, and their bench is a little bit. I'm not too sold on that. But ours I'd say is probably the strongest in the division. I'd say undoubtedly so, to be honest. Obviously, it's about keeping players fit and whatnot. So yeah, it's always nice to have some rotation. That was a bit of an issue with Farke last season, that he didn't really trust much of his bench for whatever reason. We all did, but for some reason he didn't really rotate that much. So let's hope this year that we can see a few changes, especially in those midweek games when you've got 2 games in a week, etc.
Yeah,
a lot of mileage in the long away games, or what have you. So it'd be nice to see some changes. But yeah, it's always good to have a good bench.
Yeah, not heard the old Farker's substitution modes yet so far this season. So that must be solved. Okay, let's look at one more. Get in. Willie equals Star Boy. Did everything but read the line. Which he just needs to slightly improve on, doesn't he? Brendan was brilliant with the ball, and Tyler's off it. Glad MJF got a goal. Overall, we moved the ball much better today. Seemed more inclined to go forward. The new lads look promising too. Just on the Brendan, is all forgiven now with him? We moved on from the issues we had.
Most fans, yeah. I saw a tweet from one guy who was saying something like, until he, which I found a bit bizarre. It's like, until he apologises or something. I just can't take him seriously or whatever. Which, I don't get what he's got to apologise for. He only left on loan. He didn't, start abusing all the fans or something. It's just a bit. Some of it's a bit overblown with certain fans, but I was fine with him being back anyway. As long as he's obviously willing to be here, which he is. As I said, I don't really blame players if they want to go on loan to a Champions League club. I just think most players would do the same thing, even players that you would think, oh no, they'll never do that. I think a lot of them probably would. But he's come back, to be fair to him. He's come back. He's done really well. I thought he was arguably the best player yesterday. Scored 2 goals in 4. He's working really hard. One of the issues that we had with him last time in the Premier League, he was very lightweight, and he has put on a bit more muscle since then, which isn't always the be all and end all. I think Somerville actually weighed less than him, and he was sort of physically stronger. But that was always the one gripe we had with him. But as I say, he's come back, he's done well. So I think if he keeps doing what he's doing, he'll become, dare I say it, maybe even a fan favourite. We never know.
Do you think? Is there anything behind the fact you didn't get a number 10 in, the fact that he started the season so well and that he can do that? He can do that role.
Yeah, I think he is an option there. I think he's not. I wouldn't call him an out and out number 10. I think some people would maybe say he's better off the left hand side. But yeah, is he that player that could? Because he's full of energy. He's very good at pressing. You'll always have a lot of energy in the team in that front four when he's starting. Because that's one of his main things. He has a lot of energy and he can press really well, that kind of thing. So I think he could be that player to maybe do that role of a number 10, to maybe play that key pass that we want. But it's not really his specialist sort of skill set. But I think when you've got in this league, when you've got good players, I don't think it really matters if if only we had this particular profile of player that could do that, we'd be fine. I just think when you've got wingers like Dan James or Solomon, who looked great yesterday, Ramazani, who came on and looked really good, and those sort of players. I think when they're just that good, I think you can get away with maybe missing a certain piece in the puzzle kind of thing, because their quality will just make up for it. So yeah, a 10 would have been nice. Aronson could do that well. I would, if I'm picking between the players we've got now for a 10, I would maybe go with Nonto. Even though I wouldn't, again, he's more of a left, because we have a lot of left wingers for some reason rather than right wingers, but a lot of players are better off the left for some reason. But Nonto would be my pick probably for the 10, because I think he could do a good job there. Against Wednesday, he was really good there as well. So yeah, a 10 would have been nice, but again, I can't really complain for this club that we've got.
Thanks from the Leeds fans so far. All right, let's look at the next set of fixtures then. We've got an international break now, and then 5 more games before we have the next break. And I think people are saying, well, we're going to find out a lot more about Leeds after the next 5 fixtures than we have done so far. The Burnley game we'll come on to in a minute. Then away trips to Cardiff and Norwich, and then of course Coventry, which is always for some reason a spicy affair, before a trip to Sunderland before we break up for the next international break. So 3 away trips there and 2 very tricky home ties. Which of those do you think is the one which is going to tell us most about Leeds?
Well, I think Burnley's a big game, obviously, with well, you would expect both sides to be sort of competing for top 2 or promotion in general. So yeah, that's a big game. I find us under Farker, and Farker probably, to be fair, when he was at Norwich, he did generally kind of get up for those big games, and we would, like last season, we beat both Leicester and Ipswich home and away. Obviously, we had some issues with Southampton, but I am always quite confident in us in those big games. But it's one of those with Burnley where if you get a draw, I don't think you'd be too annoyed about that. I think you'd be fine with it. Maybe sort of a nice a low scoring draw or whatever, where it's kind of an even game. I think most fans would probably be fine with that. Then I think you got Cardiff. You had quite a poor start. You'd probably expect to be winning there. Coventry, tough game. Not had a great start though. Then you got the likes of Sheffield United, obviously, which again that could be. You would imagine both sides will be competing for the high places with among those two sides. So I think it's not the easiest start for us, but I think got to play them all twice, so I don't really care about the order of fixtures. But yeah, we'll see. I think after we played this block where we've got Burnley and Sheffield United, if we're still, which I would imagine we are, in that top 3-4, then that's when I think people will go, yeah, these lot are probably going to be above. And I think most think it anyway, but I think especially if we can have good results against Burnley and Sheffield United, that's when fans and stuff will start to go, yeah, I think we should go on to do it, but we'll see.
All right, let's have a look at the transfer window then before we let you go. Financially, first of all, if we look at expenditure, Leeds are spent just short of 30 million euros. There's another side to that story, as we know, when we look at the balances at the moment. But you are the second highest spenders, regardless of what other teams think, and it doesn't feel like you spend much, but you certainly have in relation to, if you look at the bottom. Like if you look at the bottom 7 teams there, you spent more than everyone combined from Sheffield Wednesday downwards. The balances, though, is where people have been having the bigger chat. 162 million euros in income. That's not including things like the Red Bull deal either. So there's more to add to that. Do you understand why the term asset stripping has been attached to the 49'S group over the last couple of weeks? And fans are happier now with some of the things that decisions have been made. But can you understand why that accusation has come?
I wouldn't say asset stripping. I just don't think that's something that owners would. I just don't think that's something that owners would necessarily do. Maybe that's me being naive, or some fans would say I'm naive, or whatever. But because the only player, will be Bar Kamara, the only players that they've sold are ones with release clauses. So it's not as if they're just going, right, Nonso, you're going, every other couple, Ampadu, you're going, Peru, etc. They have maybe Bar Gray, who did sign a new contract in January with a release clause, which I would assume was just done to protect the asset and sort of the club. So if we didn't go up, which we didn't, that we could that we wouldn't be in breach of PSR. But I think there's been, because a lot of the stuff that I've seen from fans is that they've been saying stuff like, oh, we've made 140 million quid and we've only spent 20-30 million or whatever. They've gone for cheap options on players. I think a lot of fans just want us to spend money because we've got it. It's like, I put a tweet out the other day saying that because we paid 4 million for Al Tanaka from Dusseldorf, and there wasn't a huge amount of kind of hype around that signing, and I thought, I bet if he cost £14 million and not 4 million, the hype would be a lot more. I just think some fans, our fans and fans in general, just wanting to spend money for the sake of it, whereas really often a lot of those good players, especially from abroad, you don't need to spend 15 million pounds for. If you look in the foreign markets, especially, there are a lot of good players that you can get for good prices, and surely that fan bases, fans shouldn't want. They should want clubs to sort of spend as little as possible. Surely they should want us to get gems for low fees. But I don't see why fans just want their club to just spend for the sake of it. Surely that it's a good thing if we're getting good players for low fees. I don't really get the sort of logic with fans that we've got to spend this money because it shows a lack of ambition. I don't really. It's not really my way of thinking that that's just the way it is. But, asset stripping is not. That's not something that I believe happened.
But looking at the players you have signed, Rodon obviously was a big one. Big one for you. Ramazani looked all right coming on. We'll wait and see on that one. Bogle has had issues, I think it's fair to say, in some of his defensive decisions so far, but will come good. And Tanaka obviously is too early. What number do you put out of 10 then on I mean, obviously we must, we've got to say, Ruta, Gray, Somerville, Sinistra, Kamara, you've lost some quality, haven't you? We talk about the money, but you have lost some qualities. And it's fair to say, isn't it, that we don't know whether that same quality is going to be seen with all these. But overall, what grade out of 10 would you solidly give this window?
It's a hard one actually because we have brought seemingly some very good players in, but obviously as you mentioned the sales as well. I'd probably go with a 6 out of 10. I'd say it's been pretty good. I think if we would have got that extra, maybe that number 10, I would maybe give it an 8. But I can't really complain too much. Again, as I said, my hope was that we'd end the window with having either the best or the second best squad in the league. And I think we've done that, so I can't really complain too much. I know a lot of fans were saying, "Oh well, if only we'd have pushed that boat out on Harmer from Sheffield United, that would have sort of guaranteed promotion." Whereas now we're sort of going, "Well, we should go up, but bringing that extra top player like him in would have almost guaranteed it." So I do get that, but I think on the whole, it's been pretty good.
So those that said that wasn't even a genuine bid, wasn't it? Given how low they went in. All right, then, just to finish off with away days, in the comments below, Leeds fans, you must have lots of horror away day stories. Jake, what's the worst away day that you've had as a Leeds fan before you break the international?
Yeah, if we're basing it on how long the journey, I'd say Norwich. That's a bit of a killer journey. That's just it's not the best time. Ground. I mean, I've not been to loads of grounds. I think some people would say, "Well, that's your worst. It's way worse than that." But for me, in terms of the actual ground, I thought Ipswich was a bit of a dump. Basically, the concourse was like somebody's sitting room. It was just a very small kind of. It was like stepping into sort of a little, I don't know, like a little church hall or something. It was just a very tiny. It was just a very very sort of weirdly small space. I mean, I know that I've not been, but I know Hillsborough's supposed to be. Everyone said that's not obviously great. It's a bit of a grotty ground there.
No, it isn't. It isn't. Yeah, the old West Ham concourse. It's just very, very, very thin. Right. Thank you, Jake. If you could beat that, comment below. Thank you very much for joining us. Enjoy the international break. One final question: club or country, Jake?
Club, definitely for me.
Proper northerner. Absolutely, 100%. All right. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you then next time.
No worries.
If you haven't done a subscribe, please press the subscribe button and do drop us a like. We really appreciate it. And we'll see